everybody. Welding has become very diverse over the years, with many processes used. But all of these arc welding processes started with stick welding, or what we call now SMAW. In 1890, a Polish duo who went by the names of Nikolai Bernardos and Stanislaw Olszewski. These guys patented the original arc welding method, which derived from their carbon arc process, which is a little different. I can do a deep dive on the history of stick welding in a later video, but in this video I'm going to demonstrate the different metals you can stick weld. Now, believe it or not, we aren't limited to just mild steel. So SMAW is best for thicker mild steels. But with some practice and proper welding techniques, you can get away with welding thinner metals. Now for this quick demo, I'm just going to be using a common thickness here. This is a piece of 3/16 2" by 2" angle iron. And for this weld, I'm going to be using 332 7018. The 7018 rod tends to be a little bit more resistant to metal fatigue. However, you sacrifice a little bit of penetration power comparing to 6010 or 6011. Stay tuned for another video in the future where I go over some of these stick welding details, such as proper rod selection. So that's what 7018 looks like when you run it on a butt weld like that. So, pretty simple. What I do is I take a little bit of space, on the angle, tack it up. I did run one bead to get some meat on it because I took a little bit more space than I really wanted to at first. But I was able to run one bead, chip all the slag off, and then run my second pass to fill everything up and make it look all nice and pretty. Now another metal you can weld is stainless steel. It welds kind of similar to mild steel, but stainless is a little bit more sensitive to discontinuities and defects. Now I have here some pieces of exhaust tubing. This wall thickness is 0.052, so it's a little less than a 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to use 1/16 inch 308L welding electrodes. So this is not a weld that is very easy to do because of how thin the tubing is and how thin the rods are. And these rods also create a very thick layer of slag that can be intrusive to the weld. If you get ahead of yourself a little bit, that slag will carry ahead of you, get under the weld, and leave nice slag pockets. Not a fun thing. And these slag pockets, there is no burning them out. So that's welding stainless steel with stick welding electrodes. So I'm running about 30 to 35 amps, very, very small amount. You have to run pretty quick, and you have to run at an uphill angle because of the way the slag is. And you hear that popping, you hear the tinging after I'm done welding. That's the slag flying off. So it's really important that you wear your safety glasses and all your proper PPE. That way you don't get this stuff in your eye or on your lip. That's the basics of it. That takes a lot of practice to do. It took me a long time before I was able to do that. Did you know they make aluminum welding electrodes? I have some. Most people don't. This is an ALUM 43 rod. It's an all-purpose aluminum welding rod. You can weld most aluminum alloys with this. Now these rods are very soft and are used up very quickly. Also, the slag off of this rod is so thick it makes it extremely difficult to see the weld puddle. So stick welding aluminum may not be the most recommended method, but in a pinch it works just fine. So that's my aluminum weld there. This is not an easy thing to do. You could see how bad I was struggling. And the slag that's left behind is quite ugly. These welding rods get taken up very quickly. I'll go through 2/3 of this rod on one side of this tubing. But this is not a fun thing to do, so I really don't like to do it. But it's doable. Now there's a reason I saved this one for last. Believe it or not, you can successfully stick weld cast iron. It's not easy, but it is possible. And these are the rods you need. These are ENIFE-CL welding rods, often referred to as nickel 55. These electrodes contain about 55% nickel and roughly 45-ish% iron, depending on what other elements the manufacturer adds. There is also another rod that is called nickel 99 that works well too. Nickel 99 is at least 85% nickel and is more machinable and ductile, but it's not as strong as nickel 55. Nickel 55 is also more difficult to use. Now cast iron should always be preheated before welding, but when welding with the nickel 55 rod, it would benefit from a post-weld heat treat to minimize cracking. Nickel 99 is ductile enough in most home applications where you shouldn't really have to worry about a post-weld heat treatment. But with nickel 55, I definitely would. To get this preheated up real good, then we're on a bead. That right there is a weld on cast iron. That went better than I thought. So these are nickel 55 rods. I got this thing up to over 500 degrees. Set my heat at about 70 amps or so. Turned my dig function all the way down to 0. And just dropped and dragged like a 7018 rod. And then after that, took a torch. Did a little bit of post heat after it cooled down a little bit to make sure that that cooling process slows way down so it doesn't cool too quick, and that's it. As you can see, stick welding still has its place in this fast-paced, technological world. Although not always the most proficient option, its versatility and simplicity still proves to be beneficial in the welding industry. Thanks for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Please subscribe for more and leave a comment, and I will see you all later.